So in this video, we're going to talk about how to multiply monomials. So monomials, remember, are numbers, variables, or the product of a number and one or more variables. The exponents of the variables in a monomial must be non-negative integers. So we also have this product of powers, if you remember from our exponent rules review. The laws of exponents tell us that if you multiply together two terms that have the same base, you're going to add together the exponents. So if we have a to the m times a to the n, that's going to be a to the m plus n. So for example, if we're doing x to the fourth times x squared, that's going to be x to the 4 plus 2, which is equal to x to the sixth. So I just want to remind you of this warning. Coefficients and variables will follow different rules. So when you're working on problems that involve exponents, remember to work with the coefficients separately from the variables, because the coefficients will follow the standard rules of multiplication, division, whatever you're doing in the problem, but the exponents will follow the special exponent rules. So for example, if we were trying to multiply 3x to the 6th y to the 7th times 4xy cubed, one strategy is to go ahead and separate everything out. So for example, I would write this as 3 times 4, so I've pulled out both coefficients. And then we have x to the 6th times x. And remember that x has a power of 1. And then we have y to the 7th times y cubed. So when we do that, the 3 times 4, we're just going to do standard multiplication there. So that 3 times 4 is going to be 12. Then we have x to the 6th times x to the 1. That's where we apply those exponent rules. So that's going to be x to the 6th plus 1, so that's going to be x to the 7th. Same thing with the y to the 7th times y to the 3rd. We're going to do that exponent rule, and we're going to add those exponents so we get y to the 10th. So if we write everything all together, we have 12x to the 7th, y to the 10th. Okay, and that's the solution. So let's try now multiplying 2y cubed times 5y squared. So once again, I'm going to pull out the coefficients. So we have 2 times 5, and then we have y cubed times y squared. So the 2 times 5, we just do regular multiplication, and we get 10. The y cubed times y squared, we're going to add those exponents, and we get y to the 5th. So the overall answer is going to be 10y to the 5th. So now let's try this problem. Let's try multiplying 3m squared n cubed p times 4m cubed n p squared. So once again, I'm going to pull out the coefficients. So we have 3 times 4, and then we have m squared times m cubed, and then we have n cubed times n, and remember that n is an n to the 1, and then we have p times p squared. So p, remember, is a p to the 1. So 3 times 4, we're just going to do regular multiplication, and that's going to be 12. M squared times m cubed, we're going to add the exponents, so that's going to give us m to the 5th. N cubed times n to the 1st, we're going to add the exponents, going to be n to the 4th. P to the 1 times p squared, we're going to add the exponents, going to be p cubed. So the overall answer is going to be 12 m to the 5th, n to the 4th, p cubed. So now you can go ahead and pause the video and try doing this example on your own. So once again, we're going to use that strategy. We're going to separate out the coefficients. So here the coefficients, we have 2 times 4, and so that's how we get 8. X squared times x to the 4th is going to be x to the 6th. Y cubed times y to the 1st is going to be y to the 4th. And then z to the 1st times z squared is going to be z cubed. So the answer is 8x to the 6th y to the 4th z cubed. So now let's try this example. So we have 3 monomials now that we're multiplying together, but it's still basically the same process. So we always start off by pulling out the coefficients. So we have -2 times 5 times 3. Okay, and then let's look at the x terms. We have x cubed times x squared times x to the 4th. And then we have y squared times y, which is like y to the 1st. And then we have y cubed. And now we have z to the 4th times z, which is z to the 1st, and we have z squared. Okay, so now let's simplify this whole thing. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Negative 10 times 3 is negative 30. Okay, now let's work on x. X cubed times x squared, so I'm going to add those exponents, going to give me x to the 5th. And then so I do x to the 5th times x to the 4th, so I add those exponents, which gives me an overall exponent, x to the 9th. Okay, y squared times y to the 1st gives me y cubed. Y cubed times y cubed is going to give me y to the 6th. So z to the 4th times z to the 1st is going to give me z to the 5th. And then I multiply that by z squared, so I have z to the 7th. So the complete answer is going to be negative 30, x to the 9th, y to the 6th, z to the 7th. So remember, you can multiply monomials by separating the coefficients and variables and by applying the properties of exponents.